Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I was trying to figure out where we stopped last time. My name is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. I took yesterday off. I feel so rested, so peaceful, so calm. Much more. I was getting frazzled. Karen Reed trial is like, I don't know. It's like inhabiting my brain and turning me into a meanie. I don't know what else to say. Just it's like dancing on my last nerve is what it is. Good morning, Judy, if you're still here. Jill, Terry, Rodney. Hey guys. Judy won't be with us today. Her grandson is graduating from RN school with a BSN. That is impressive. And nurses, when they graduate, it's a party. It's an all-day thing. Rodney. No, this child knows how to push my buttons, man. It's just Oh wow, Rodney, I'm sorry. I love it. I love it. Yes, that is the attitude to have. Yep. Wow. Well, it's nice to have you here. But yeah, that's a good attitude to have because that's definitely what happens. Um I lost my job because I hurt my back at work. They didn't care just because I had a history of back injuries. They didn't care that I hurt it at work because of my history. I couldn't get workers' comp or anything like that, and I was out of work for instead of 6 months, I was out for seven months. So they just decided that they didn't have to hire me back, and I went to work. I was working in a hospital. I went to work at a nursing home, and that's how I met my husband because I met his ex sister-in-law there. So if they had let me keep my job at the hospital, I would have never met my husband. So there you go. So God takes the bad things and turns them around for good. So good attitude to have. So I'm sorry I was late. I'm trying to figure out where we left off. I think I found about where we left off. We're still on Mr. Eyebrows. And I don't know. I was going to say, I think this is the last part, but you might have one part after this. So it looks like we have just enough time to finish the rest of this part of his testimony. Oh, wait, Debbie, you got to share screen first. I don't know why. You'd think I've been doing this long enough now that I would remember to do that part. I always forget that part.
Yesterday, when you mentioned the
I
phrase,
assume I did, since I probably said about health.
all
It
right,
would have been under the section where I was talking about a health item that I have in my notes.
Dr. DeMaio, you mentioned yesterday in going on with Mr. Plord's direct examination, something about, you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And you said, I don't mean to be sexist or something like that, but you said, she was 40.
Right, sir.
All right. And in your report, you said, quote, in addition, Ms. Clarkson's career was in all probability ending.
Yes, sir.
You went on to say she played parts requiring youth, beauty, and athletic ability. At 40 years of age, she was too old for these parts, correct?
Yes, sir. That's Hollywood.
That is part of your scientific medical opinion that you talked about being driven.
How is 40 too old for part? There's 20, 30-year-old people that play teenagers all the time. Are you kidding me? Is that not a normal thing in Hollywood? That grown adults play kids all the time? That doesn't seem right to me.
Driven by in this case, correct?
That's some part of the evaluation of why she's probably depressed.
So it is your
Why she's
medical.
monitored.
He's not.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's your medical
You're done.
opinion as a.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, I apologize. It is your medical opinion as a pathologist from Bexar County, San Antonio, that her career was all but ending because she was 40. Is that correct?
It's background history. It's my opinion that based on our society, it's discriminatory against women when they hit a certain age, especially when her talents were, her movies were based on, with physical activity and beauty.
All right. So in your expert medical opinion as a forensic pathologist, her career was all but ending because she was 40, basically over the washed up, correct?
This is history. This is a history that you take into account, just like you take into account.
In your opinion, as a forensic pathologist, she was depressed because her career in Hollywood. Your opinion as a forensic pathologist, emphasis on the forensic pathologist, is that her career in Hollywood was over because she was 40.
The depression, you take into account the medical problems. And so she's got some problems there. She's not getting any jobs. She doesn't have any money. She's afraid of losing her house. No skills, and she says it.
And of course, I'll withdraw. I'll get you.
While you're doing that, ladies and gentlemen, I think you're aware we're going straight to 11:30 because Mr. Rosen has a funeral to go to, and we're never going to resume at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Okay.
Like to approach your honor.
Certainly.
Are these all one finger?
No, you're 7, the last one through 165.
I'm going to object to showing to the jury and have some foundation as to whether the witness has seen the photograph, 1, and 2, whether it's going to change.
Well, first thing they show, Jackson will show the witness photographs, and then they can be published to the jury, and then he can ask questions, or he can do it simultaneously.
The court has no problem if we do it simultaneously?
No,
Okay, thank you.
it's going to be shown anyway. Just do them one after the other, and then you can ask.
I will. Doctor, I'm going to show a series of photographs that I'd like you to take a look at. And as soon as I'm done showing you the series of 9 photographs or so, I'll ask you a couple of questions about these and whether or not you've ever seen them before. This is People's 157. People's 158. People's 159. People's 160. People's 161. People's 164. And I think you've probably seen this one, People's 165. Do you recognize any of those photographs?
I think they've been in the media, TV, things like that.
Who are they pictures of?
Miss Clarkson.
Are you aware that Miss Clarkson was having headshots done as recently as January of 2003?
I assume, yes, I know she was still trying to do an acting career.
And those photographs are pictures of the 40-year-old over-the-hill actress that couldn't get a job and basically was out of the business and washed up in Hollywood, according to your medical opinion, correct?
Not my medical opinion. Okay. She's a very beautiful girl. And she's 40 years old. And there's thousands of 20-year-olds after the same jobs she's after. That's the hard life in acting. That's the way it is. It's not fair.
As a matter of fact, you indicated that she played parts requiring youth, beauty, and athletic ability, correct? And at 40, she was too old for these parts. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. You have absolutely no experience in casting direction or producing in Hollywood or directing in Hollywood, do you?
That's absolutely true.
All right. So this is simply a lay opinion having nothing to do with your medical opinion,
At
correct?
least I guess I'm going to the movies and watching TV.
Are you saying that a 40-year-old can't be youthful, doctor?
She's a very beautiful girl.
Are you saying a 40-year-old
No,
can't
I'm
be
not.
youthful?
Actually, I'm saying she's very beautiful.
Are you saying a 40-year-old can't be beautiful?
I said she's beautiful.
Are you saying a 40-year-old can't be athletic?
She can be athletic, but she's competing against young girls. She's appearing, she's competing against Paris Hilton and things like that.
And of course, this is the kind of objective scientific evidence that you're basing your opinion on in this case, correct?
Absolutely not. What I told you was that when you look at the history, it's a wash. You have to go to the scientific
Yeah, but Paris Hilton can't act.
evidence. You look at this and, you can interpret it any way you want. And so you just can't use it to make an opinion. And so I did not use the history to make opinion in this case. The interpretation of the cases has to be on the findings of the intraoral wound, the blood spatter, the tissue, the gunshot residue. That's what my opinion's based on.
If your opinion is not
on the history.
If your opinion is not based on the history, then, doctor, why to Mr. Plourd's questions, did you talk to this jury yesterday about Lana Clarkson's emails, and why, in answer to Mr. Plourd's questions yesterday, did you talk to this jury about Ms. Clarkson's career and being over the age of 40? Why did you add that?
For the same reason I'm answering you. I have to answer the questions that are asked me.
And both of those things are in your report too, correct?
Excuse me, yes, sir. As background, and then I said you can't use it. The whole thing is that I did not formulate his questions. I didn't formulate your questions. So I sit here
And
I
of course,
told you my opinion was not based on the history. but is based on.
I haven't heard of that one, but what was the one? What was the one? It was a remake of a Vincent Price movie, House of Wax. Watch House of Wax if you want to see some bad Paris Hilton.
The physical evidence.
And of course, you
The
added.
movie's good. The movie's really good, but bad Paris Hilton.
Both of those factors into your report when nobody was asking you any questions, correct?
Because you have to, the report has to be complete and cover all aspects. I do not determine which way the case is and what the questions are presented to me. And I just, that's what a consultant's job is.
All right, so
to discuss the evidence that was presented to him.
So Dr. DeMaio, if I hear your testimony correctly, you're saying to this jury that because you're not basing any of your opinion on this history that you've just talked about and that you talked about with Mr. Plord and that you included in your report, the jurors can ignore and should ignore your opinions about her emails, about her medical history, and about her career. Is that correct?
An argumentative statement is based upon overall.
Is that correct?
No, sir. The jury decides what it wants to consider. I don't tell the jury what to do. They do what they want to do. All I can say is that my opinion as to who fired the gun and in whose hands it was in is based on the physical evidence, not on the history, because the history cannot help me in making that decision.
So insofar as your testimony is concerned, I'm not asking you to speculate about what the jurors are going to weigh and balance. That's up to them. Insofar as your testimony is concerned, they can ignore, or we should ignore, from your testimony, all of your testimony about her history, all of your testimony about her emails, all of your testimony about her career, because that doesn't play into your opinion. Is that your testimony, Doctor?
Argumentative and misstates the evidence and also invades the province of the jury.
Overruled, because the question is that what his testimony was? Overruled.
My testimony was that I could not make a decision as to who held the gun based on the history, that I could only do it by the physical evidence, and that's it. You know, and that's, I'm just telling the jury how I made my decision.
Objection. At this point, it's not responsive.
Overruled.
The witnesses answered the question in the first part of this.
I think the whole
answer.
answer is appropriate. I'm not allowed to say.
Doctor, there's an additional portion of your report where you talk about the movement of the gun in suicides,
Yes, sir.
correct? And you
Yes.
indicate on page 3, second to the last paragraph, it has been suggested that the gun was moved. And then you pose the question in your report, who moves guns in cases of suicide, or who moves the gun in cases of suicide, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, you go on to cite some statistics about gun movement being kicked by the police or being moved by family and friends and things like that, correct?
But I refer to a paper that was published.
Yes or no? You're talking about some statistics about how often in the past guns tend to be moved in cases of suicide, correct?
And who moves them, yes, sir.
All right. There's another statistic that I want to ask you about. What percentage of the time are guns moved in homicide cases?
I would say probably, I don't think anyone's done a study on that, but I would assume that it's probably around 95% of the time, 98%. Most people don't leave the weapon they use to kill somebody around.
Actually, I mean, if we take it literally, the gun is literally moved in 100% of homicide cases, correct?
No.
Well, if the gun is in someone else's hand when someone else is killed, when a victim is killed, by nature of the fact that it's in someone else's hand, it has to be moved, correct? Even if it's dropped.
I guess you could do it that
Okay.
way, yes.
But you didn't add that statistic, or you didn't pose that question in your report either, did you?
No, because I don't consider this a conclusion at that point. Right, yes.
You indicated further that, and I believe this goes over to the top paragraph on page 3. in your report, no, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the court. How long are we going this morning?
11:30.
Okay. Of page 3.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Spector is accused of shooting Miss Clarkson. In considering such a scenario, one has to take into account the physical disparity between the two individuals to see if it is reasonable. Miss Clarkson was approximately 25 years younger than Mr. Spector. She was at least 7 and possibly 9 inches taller than him. She appears to have outweighed him by 20 to 30 pounds. Miss Clarkson was in excellent physical condition compared to Mr. Spector, who demonstrates a Parkinsonian-like presentation manifested by reduced facial expressions or masking, talking in a soft voice and slow movement, bradykinesia. How likely would it be that he could overpower her, force a gun in her mouth, and shoot her? Her reflexes would have been faster and her strength greater. From knowledge acquired from her films, she would have known that just by grasping the revolver, she would freeze the action, making the revolver incapable of being fired. It would be more likely for her to have shot him than him to have shot her. Did you write that in your report, Doctor?
Yes, sir.
And this is based on objective, scientific evidence that you've described to this jury before, correct?
Yeah, actually, it happens to be objective scientific evidence.
Okay,
Yes. I mean,
let's talk about that for a
let's,
second.
Let him finish his answer.
I mean, she was, almost 6 feet tall, weighed 160 pounds. Look at Mr. Spector.
Okay, let's
He
talk
does
about
have Parkinsonian type faces. I mean, he has very little facial expression. He's got trembling.
And of course, by the way, Doctor, you didn't look at Mr. Spector or meet Mr. Spector in February of 2003, did you?
Well, I had met him before that. Not in 2003, no.
Okay, thank you. You indicated Miss Clarkson was 25 years younger than Mr. Spector. I want to take this one thing at a time.
Yes, sir.
So an older person armed with a gun cannot shoot an unarmed younger person, in your expert medical opinion?
No, sir. It's the whole complex of things. It's not just, again, what you're trying to do is take one little piece and one little piece and one. It's not. She's younger. She's bigger. She's healthier than he is. It's not one little thing. It's not just 6 inches. It's the whole complex.
All right, I'm going to ask you again, and all I'm asking is whether or not you agree or disagree with this proposition that you wrote in your report. Ms. Clarkson was 25 years younger than Mr. Spector.
That's correct.
So are you saying that an older person armed with a gun cannot shoot and kill a younger unarmed person? Are you saying that or not?
No, sir, I'm
All
not
right.
saying that.
Ms. Clarkson was 7 to 9 inches taller than Mr. Spector. Are you saying that a short person armed with a gun cannot shoot and kill an unarmed shorter person? I'm sorry, an unarmed taller person.
No, I'm not saying that either.
You indicated Ms. Clarkson outweighed Mr. Spector by 20 to 30 pounds in your estimation. Are you saying that a lighter person armed with a gun cannot shoot and kill an unarmed heavier person?
No.
You indicated that Ms. Clarkson was in quote unquote excellent physical condition. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you saying that an out of shape person armed with a gun cannot shoot and kill a fit younger person?
If you consider it as an individual thing, no, sir.
And earlier, by the way, concerning Ms. Clarkson's excellent physical condition, when you were talking about her being able to shoot herself in the most common location, which of course is in the head. If it's in the head, it's going to be the temple. You indicated that she was not in good physical condition. You indicated that her wrists were so fragile that she couldn't even do this motion.
No,
Correct?
sir.
Not that she couldn't. I don't think that was.
That it would have been easier for her to turn the gun around than simply put the gun to her head.
That's right.
And that's because of her wrists, correct?
She had some limitation of movement.
Yet here you talk about her being in excellent physical condition, correct?
She was.
So once again, you're manipulating the facts depending upon the result that you want. Isn't that true, Dr. DeMaio?
Overruled.
No, sir, you're manipulating what I said.
Actually, Doctor, I'm just repeating what you said, and I'm asking you about it.
No, sir, you're manipulating what I said. What I said is that she had limited motion. And then what I said in this paragraph, that when you consider all of these things, there's, it's more likely for her to have killed him than him to have killed her due to the physical disparity. But if you notice, when I gave my opinion, I did not include that as a thing, but it's a thing that you can also consider.
So once again, according to you, this is not part of your opinion. This is a portion of your testimony and your report that the jurors can and should ignore.
No, sir. This is part of my opinion.
So it is part of your opinion.
What's the objection? All right.
So it is now part of
It's
your
part of my opinion. In my report, I stated my opinions, but what I'm something that they can consider. But what I'm saying is if you look at the objective scientific evidence again, which I'll list if you want, is that she shot herself. But this is something that you might want to consider as background, because the physical disparity between the two. It's up to the jury to decide.
Okay, and just a second ago, you said this is not part of your opinion, correct?
It's okay. The letter are my opinions. There's a difference between all of my opinions expressed in the letter and the opinions that why I'm saying the gun is at hand. I'm saying it because of the intraoral wound, because of the blood, because of the tissue, and because of the gunshot residue. That's what my opinion on the objective scientific evidence. But these are also other opinions, but you can take them or leave them. My core opinions are the objective scientific evidence.
All right, so in your words, to use your words, concerning her history, concerning her emails, concerning her career, and certainly concerning this paragraph that I've just read to the jury, jurors could take them. That's not their opinion. Is that right?
No, so they are. They're the opinions expressed in the report. The opinions as to why she had the gun in the hand is something different. These are the opinions that I have on looking on the case as a whole. I'm doing complete analysis of the case and giving, opinions as to things.
And the parts that I just read are not opinions based on scientific evidence, correct? Objective scientific evidence. These are not, correct?
These opinions are not objective scientific evidence, but they are as probabilities.
Thank you, doctor. I appreciate that. You indicated in that same paragraph, from knowledge acquired from her films, and if I misquote this, well, let me just ask you this, because I'm not sure I understand it. From knowledge acquired from her films, she would have known that just by grasping the revolver, she would, quote, freeze the action, making the revolver incapable of being fired. It would be more likely for her to have shot him than him to have shot her. Again, that is not part of your objective medical opinion, correct?
It's one of my opinions, and anyone who knows revolvers, and she had apparently some knowledge of revolvers, would know that's all you have to do is put your hand on top with the web where the hammer is, the fingers around the cylinder, and if you grasp it, the cylinder cannot rotate. If you're a little slow, and the hammer does come back, it falls on on the web of skin. It hurts, but the gun doesn't fire.
And that is not based on any objective scientific evidence, correct? Once again.
I don't understand what you mean by objective. Yeah, it is objective scientific evidence. If you do that with a revolver, it will not fire.
Your opinion.
Guaranteed.
Your opinion that Lana Clarkson could have, if she wanted to, confronted with Mr. Spector with a loaded revolver in her face. She could have, from her knowledge of being in films in the past, she could have reached out with her hand, snatched the gun, and frozen the action.
You don't.
Correct?
You don't. Okay. And she could have, and you don't. What you do is you put your hand on that and you give it a twist. If they don't let go, you break their finger.
And that's what she was supposed to have done in this circumstance if this was a homicide, based on her knowledge of acting in some films in the past.
No.
Is that your understanding?
This is something you can consider. That all you have to do, if you have any knowledge of revolvers and you know, if you're cool enough to do it, it depends on the person. You can't say. All you have to do is grab the revolver, put the hand on that, and you give it a twist. And they either let go, if they don't let go, you break their finger. I can tell you that.
And you just said it depends on the person. You simply can't say, correct?
It depends upon the person. And
Yeah,
so
you
this,
included that
this-
in your report, correct?
This, yes, but but remember, my opinion as to who fired the gun is not based on that. It's based on the intraoral wound, the tissue ejected on the arms, the blood on the hands, and the gunshot residue on the hands. It's not based on this. This is background material, which the jury can consider or just say, I don't care, and throw it away.
So once again, your opinion as placed in your report. Now you're saying it's not part of your medical opinion or not part of the objective scientific evidence, so you can ignore it. But as it appeared in your report that was given to the prosecution, you indicated that she could have just frozen the action and made the revolver incapable of firing. Isn't that what you said?
Sure, if you want to get it, I'll show you how to do it. It's
All
really
right.
simple. I've done it.
You're aware that you've done it in terms of having a madman shoving a gun in your face?
Has he done any actual forensic pathology testifying? He's testified about guns. Has he actually done any forensic pathology? I don't remember. He just keeps talking about guns.
And you just snatched and froze the revolver?
Yeah,
The objection sustained.
yeah, I did. All I did was I just grabbed the gun and twisted it. They let go, so I didn't break the finger. Actually, the next thing you do, if you want to show them, is you can butt them right in the face. Yeah, I've done it. In fact, I've done it on 2 occasions. I've taken guns away from people.
So in your medical opinion, Ms. Clarkson, when she was faced with someone who had loaded it in her face, she should have just jumped up and grabbed the gun out of his hand and twisted it to the right. Isn't that what you're saying?
No.
That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Objection.
No, sir. I did not
The
say.
objection is sustained. Go ahead and ask them your question.
Sure, I'll ask it in a different way. Isn't it true that that is a ridiculous piece of advice to give a human being if you're confronted with someone with a gun in your face?
I'm going to allow the question.
If you think that the person may shoot, I think it's a very smart thing to do rather than stand there and get shot. I mean, if you have a choice between standing there and getting shot and maybe taking the gun away from them, I would suggest that you take the gun away from them.
So,
One is 100% going to kill you. The other one, you got a chance.
so in your professional expert opinion, it would have been more reasonable for Ms. Clarkson to have shot Mr. Spector, because if he confronted her with a loaded firearm, she could have and should have reached out, snatched the gun away from him, broken his fingers, turned the gun on him, and fired and shot and killed him. That's what you're saying should have happened in your expert opinion, correct?
Compound, but sustained because it has a certain, you have to ask it in a different fashion.
Sure. You're aware of what the police, for instance, is to do when you're confronted with a person that's holding you at gunpoint, right? It's one word.
Yeah, you're supposed to cooperate.
Comply, cooperate, right? In other words, if they ask you for your wallet, and as a matter of fact, you're married, your advice to your wife would be if someone approaches you with a gun, and they're asking for something, you comply, correct?
Probably, yeah.
If they ask for your wallet, you give over your wallet.
Probably, yeah.
If they ask for your watch, you give over your watch.
Probably,
If
yeah.
they tell you to kneel, you'll kneel, correct?
No.
And if they tell you to open your
No.
mouth, you'll open your mouth if that's in fact what they're saying to do. Isn't that right, doctor?
No.
So at that
And
point,
no. You keep ignoring my answers and keep right on talking. I keep saying no. Anybody who does that is out of their minds. They're not going to do that, and it's a stupid thing to do because you know what's going to happen, and at that point you resist.
and of course,
But you
according to
you keep misleading this thing. Is this is just a point to consider, but it's not my opinion. It has nothing to do with my opinion as to who fired the gun.
so it
has
probably
nothing to
should
do-
never have been in your report, should it?
No, sir. The report has to be complete. If I didn't put it in the report, you would complain that my report was not complete. The report was supposed to be complete, and it was intended for you so that you would know all aspects of what I was thinking in this case.
And Dr.
And so
DeMaio,
now you know all the aspects of what I was thinking. Most places in the country, you don't even write these reports, and I don't think. they're
objection,
required
this
by
is
law.
not responsive.
The latter portion, sir.
All right, Dr. DeMaio, you're now saying that this is not part of your medical opinion and it has nothing to do with your opinion that she fired the gun, correct?
Misstates that, he's never said that.
He's asking, is this right? That's it.
You're now saying.
No.
That misstates the evidence.
All right, sustained, you're correct.
You're stating in your testimony, Dr. DeMaio, that it is not your opinion. Sorry, this factor, or these factors, or this paragraph does not play into your opinion that she fired the weapon, correct?
Right. This is another opinion that has nothing to do with the fact that, in my opinion, she fired the weapon. The fact that, in my opinion, that she fired the weapon is based on the blood spray, the tissue, the gunshot residue, and the intraoral nature of the wound.
But it is part of your opinion that Mr. Spector didn't fire the weapon, correct?
Yes. In my opinion, there is absolutely no physical evidence. The physical evidence is that she had the weapon. She's the one who fired the gun. There's just no objective scientific evidence. You cannot say he had the gun. It's speculation. He didn't have the gun. She, in my opinion, she had the gun, and in a period of dissociation, she fired it. Probably didn't think of the consequences. If she had, she probably would not have done it. It was just not a sporadic, a spontaneous action of some sort, which is stupid, and probably stupid on the basis of alcohol, and that she had another second to think, the gun would have been put down, she would have gone home.
And you end your report, and you've just ended that sentence with the phrase, there's no evidence that she wasn't holding the gun when it was fired, correct?
That's correct, sir.
All right, that is in fact, a double negative, correct? There's no evidence that she wasn't holding the gun, correct? This phrase, that's all I'm asking.
There is no evidence that, we don't know. So, okay, if I misspoke is, well, what I said is she had the gun, she pulled the trigger, that's my opinion.
Okay, well, let's talk about, instead of talking about what evidence you don't have, that she wasn't holding the gun, let's talk about the evidence that you do have and you did review. You're aware that she was killed in Mr. Spector's house, correct?
That she died in Mr. Spector's house.
You're aware that she died at the hands of Mr. Spector's gun, correct?
I assume it was his gun, yes, sir.
That the gun came out of Mr. Spector's bureau, correct?
I don't know if it came out or she picked it up somewhere in the house. Obviously, she was around the house.
The obvious, I mean, you've reviewed the evidence. The obvious evidence is that the gun was in the holster in the bureau, correct?
Or yeah, but you can't say that. She was around the house. She could have taken it from somewhere else and brought it with her. Who knows?
And then just opened that drawer and and found an empty holster that just happens to fit the exact make and model of that gun.
No.
Overruled.
She could have taken the gun with the holster. There was a drawer, took the gun out of the holster, put the holster down, and then, it was an impulse. In my opinion, it was an impulsive action with no thought to the consequences.
Objection. This is non-responsive. I asked you about the holster.
It's part and parcel. I'll allow the answer. Now ask another question.
Sure. So now is it, I don't want to get distracted, but now is it your opinion that she brought the gun with her?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
You said, it could have been somewhere else. I said it could be somewhere else other than the drawer.
And of course, you would not in any way, shape, form, or fashion as an objective, neutral, independent forensic witness shade your testimony to benefit one side as opposed to the other. You would not do that, would you?
Sir, what difference does it make? What difference does it make if she took it from that drawer or from
All I'm asking you
upstairs? It doesn't make any difference.
Non-responsive.
And the answer
He's
is
explaining the reason for his answer, so I'm going to let that answer stand, and now you may ask me.
Thank you. Dr. DeMaio, all I asked you was, in fact, as an objective, independent, neutral expert, you would not ever condone shading your testimony or any expert's testimony to favor one side over the other, correct?
No, sir. I'm sure you wouldn't shade your questions that way.
And my question to you is, since I get to ask the questions and you get to answer them, would you, in fact, shade your testimony to benefit one side versus the other?
No, sir. But
All right, that would be inappropriate, correct?
No, sir. But in relation to a previous question, you said you get to ask the questions, and so the other side got the questions, and that's why I answer with what I'm asked. So that proves the point I made before.
It would be inappropriate for you to shade your testimony in any way, shape, form, or fashion to benefit, for instance, Mr. Spector.
Yes, sir.
All right. You're aware that the gun was, I'm sorry, well, let's put it this way. You're aware that there was an empty holster found in a bureau drawer next to Ms. Clarkson that fit the exact same make and model of the weapon she was killed with, correct?
Yes, I assume the holster went with the gun.
All right. You're aware that that drawer was open several inches, giving access to the contents of that drawer, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that Ms. Clarkson was at Mr. Spector's home at Mr. Spector's invitation, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that she was a stranger to that house. She had never been there before.
Yes, sir.
You're aware that she had no way of knowing if she was a stranger to the house where any gun or guns would be, or if there would be any guns in the house, correct?
Objection, this state's evidence also assumes the fact that.
Well, it assumes the fact if you're saying prior to the time she got in the house or after the time.
Prior to the time, I'm sorry, I'll rephrase the question, Dr. DeMaio, with the court's instruction. You are aware that prior to the time she got in the house, she would have no way of knowing whether there were guns in the house or where they'd be, correct?
Unless she had been told prior to that coming to the house that there were guns.
You're aware that Mr. Spector, in fact, living in the house, would know if there were guns in the house and where they would be.
Yes.
You're aware that in the foyer area, there was only one open drawer, and that was the drawer with the holster that fit the gun, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that when she was killed, she was fully clothed.
No, that's not true.
You're aware that she had her jacket on.
But no, let's go back to the other question.
Answer my question.
Yes.
Did she have her jacket on?
Yes.
Did she have a slip dress on?
She had a slip on, yes.
Did she have a pair of nylons on?
Yes, sir.
Did she have her shoes on?
Yes.
Did she have her purse on her shoulder?
Yes.
And that purse was on her right shoulder, correct?
Yes.
She was seated by the back door, isn't that right?
Yes.
These are all facts that you can point to based on your review of the case, is that right?
Yes.
That seat that she was seated in was some 8 to 10 feet from that back door, correct?
Yes.
There was a waiting Mercedes outside the back door about 5 feet, correct?
Outside. Yeah.
Outside the back door.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 5 feet, but it's outside.
All right. Are you aware of any of the testimony concerning Adriana D'Souza in this case?
Vaguely. It's right outside. I know the limousine, but I don't know if it's 5 feet, I'm saying, that's all.
We'll leave it right outside. There was a waiting
Okay.
Mercedes right outside on the other side of that back door, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that after Ms. Clarkson was shot, she was immediately incapacitated.
She's dead, yes.
She could not move around the house.
Yes.
She could not transfer blood around the house.
Yes.
She did not get up out of that chair.
Yes, sir.
Blood was on the doorknob, correct? And that came from Mr. Spector.
I would assume so, yes.
Blood was on the latch bolt, and that, of course, came from Mr. Spector.
I would assume so, yes, sir.
Blood was on the banister, and that, of course, came from Mr. Spector.
I think there's a question about that.
You don't think that Mr. Spector left the blood on the banister that was
I think
found
there was-
once they were in the house?
There was a question whether that was blood that was a blood spatter.
The large transfer blood stain on the top of the banister you think might have been blood spat?
No, I'm talking about the droplets on the second step.
I'm talking about the banister. Do you know the difference between a banister and a step?
Yes.
All right, the banister. The
Okay.
blood on the banister was, in fact, Miss Clarkson's, and it was left by Mr. Spector, correct?
I would assume so, then.
You're aware that Mr. Spector removed some of his clothing and took him upstairs, correct?
You mean his jacket?
That being his white jacket.
Yes, sir.
You're aware that there was a diaper that was retrieved by Mr. Spector.
Yes, sir.
You're aware that that diaper was wetted with something that appeared to be water,
Yes, sir.
and that was made by Mr. Spector.
I would assume so, yes, sir.
You're aware that there was blood, including clotted blood, that was found on that wetted diaper, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that Miss Clarkson's face appeared to have been wiped, or either wiped down or wiped off, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was consistent with the blood on the diaper, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that the diaper
He's shooting questions out now, so he can't stop and explain. He's just boom, boom, boom. He's like, I am done with this guy. I just answer my questions.
was found in an adjacent bathroom next to an open toilet, burgundy in color with the seat up, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the diaper
I didn't
was-
know the color of the toilet, but
Well- Next to a toilet with the seat up.
yes, sir.
You've seen photographs of that.
Yes.
And you recall, of course, that bloody, wet diaper that came from upstairs that Mr. Spector took and used to at least transfer blood onto the diaper was found some 6 or 8 inches from the open toilet, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that Mr. Spector never called 911. There was no evidence that Mr. Spector ever called 911 throughout the course of the 40 minutes between the time the shot was fired and Ms. Clarkson was killed and that he was arrested, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that high-velocity backspatter, or as you put it, backspatter or splatter, was in fact found on Mr. Spector's white jacket, correct?
That's not correct, sir.
Yesterday, you indicated that you believed that there was no spatter found on his sleeves. Is that right?
No, sir. I started to answer your question, and then the judge said, let's recess. I said that there was one drop.
Okay.
And it's I think somewhere between 1 and 2 millimeters.
All right, and that's
It's
on the left cuff.
the edge of the cuff on the right.
You just pointed to your right cuff. Would that be the
Yes.
left cuff?
No, it's the right cuff.
You're positive about that?
Yes, sir.
You're sure
There are two stains on the left sleeve. There's one set. Well, we've got the
Doctor, I'm asking
photographs
for your
right
memory
here.
right now. Dr. DeMaio,
Right now, it's just asking for you.
I'm asking for your memory.
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
asking you to look through reports. I'm not asking you to look at the photographs.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Your testimony is that blood stain was on the leading edge of the right cuff, correct?
Yes, sir.
And according to you, that's his white jacket. There were, in fact, 2 other stains on the back of Mr. Spector's white jacket, correct?
There were 2 on the arm.
On the back of the arm.
They were on the arm. I know that.
You're not aware of where they were on the arm.
I just saw I don't remember exactly, but I know they were on the arm.
And of course, if they were on the back of the arm, that means the back of the sleeve had to be somehow, some way facing the blood spattering or the bloodletting event, correct?
So you would say his back was turned to her then?
Doctor, do me a favor and try to answer my question and not ask me questions.
Yes, sir.
Is it true, is it your understanding that the back of the sleeve, if it had blood spatter on it, had to have been facing in some way, shape, form, or fashion?
Let me answer the question.
Assume for purposes of this question that the 2 blood stains were on the back of the right sleeve. Isn't it true, based on even the most basic understanding of blood spatter evidence, that sleeve would have had to have been facing the spattering event?
Yes, sir.
You indicated that in order to give a full history of this case, you went into and looked at Ms. Clarkson's history, her medical history, her emails, her career, and of course you've since said that is not part of your opinion, but you simply added that as history, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you also consider the other person in the room, his history?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you consider his past history of violence with women?
Your Honor, overruled and stated upon testimony presented in the.
Yes, sir, the last
You
instance.
can believe or not believe, but the bottom line, it's been presented in the court.
Yes, sir. On the last incident, 7, 8 years prior.
Are you aware, all my question is,
I said yes.
okay, you also said 7, 8 years prior, and you looked at something. All I'm asking you
My
is your
notes,
memory.
which you have a copy of.
All I'm asking you, doctor, is your memory of whether or not you considered the defendant's past violent history.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You know that because I gave you my notes.
Dr. DeMaio,
Yes, sir.
I'm not asking you to review
Okay.
notes. I'm asking you about your memory,
Okay.
okay?
Notes are not an evidence.
Did you, in fact, consider those incidents?
Yes, sir.
Did you consider an incident from July 1993 wherein Dorothy Melvin was with Philip Spector?
I don't remember the names. I just considered the incidents.
Did you consider
Has this man never testified before? Does he not understand that the jury doesn't get his notes? The jury, that's hearsay. The jury has to hear it come out of your mouth, dude. Why are you acting like you've never testified before? You know it all. You're the supreme expert in the world. You know it all. It has to come out of your mouth for the jury to consider it. Why are you,
the fact that she was with him after a night of drinking, that she confronted him after she found him in the morning pointing a handgun at her car, that he slapped her when she begged to leave. He ordered her into the house. He pointed the gun at her, ordered her to go upstairs. She refused. He ordered her to take her clothes off. Other than her jacket, she refused. And then he eventually chased her off of the property with a shotgun. Are you aware of that?
overruled. It's an incident, and obviously it has certain circumstances on it.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that
I've
incident?
heard of, yes. I'm
All
aware
right,
of
and
the
did you
incident.
consider that in your opinion?
Yes, sir.
Did you also consider a January 1995 incident at the Carlisle Hotel in New York with Stephanie Jennings, wherein she had been with him at a party, he had been drinking heavily, she refused to go to his hotel room late in the evening or early in the morning. After an argument, she wanted to leave. Spector then retrieved a handgun, pointed it at her, and held her at gunpoint while he blocked the door to the hotel room. Are you aware of that incident?
Yes, sir.
Did you consider that incident?
Yes, sir.
Are you-
On that note, we've arrived at 11:30. We must take our recess. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind the admonition is 2 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay. So that is it for that. Oh, I forgot to make a portal. Shoot. Forgot to do a portal. Hang on. Okay. Portal. Okay, so this will portal you to the Karen Reed trial if you are going with us. If not, I will see you Monday morning for more Phil. And I hope you have a great weekend. And if you're going to follow us to Karen Reed, I will see you over there. Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.